It's time for the Daily Planet podcast show. So sit back, relax, and give us a go. Scott and Matt and maybe a guest, undertaking an epic pod quest. We're gonna ramble on about the movies and books and television and directors and film festivals and this really long list of stuff that I know nothing about, but they gave it to me and they really wanted me to read through it. And that's all I can really say about it, but it's gonna be great. Okay, start the show.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Planet podcast. I am your host, Scott Daly, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Matt Freeman. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Scott, and I'm thrilled to be talking about one of our favorite topics, Game of Thrones, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming season today, aren't we?
Yep, season 6. Season 6. It feels like almost yesterday this thing started. Can't believe
I know. That was only like 3 houses ago for me.
And we are joined to discuss Game of Thrones by our resident Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire expert, James Gentry, the Maester.
Hey guys.
Maester Gentry, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me back, Scott and Matt. It's good to talk to you guys again.
Yeah. It's good to have you, man. You're our pro in this stuff, so you're way more obsessed with the little minutia of the lore than this thing than I have ever been. So
yeah, I'm a story guy, I'm a theory guy, but that's you guys are here to keep me on tilt, So.
Yeah. Are we going to be talking about the time traveling fetus theory this time, or another time?
God.
Oh man, we're gonna try to stay away from some of the more ridiculous fan theories because Game of Thrones, like anything, has truly outlandish, ridiculous theories. But this is exciting because this is the first time that we don't know what's going to happen. So that's why we're having this podcast, is because what's going to happen this season is entirely speculation at this point. I mean, we've got some educated guesses, but we don't really know. So it's going to be exciting. But first, I wanted to talk about some news items because we've got some exciting or not exciting, depending on how you think of it, news items to cover. Matt, this one I know you're going to be very excited about. Remember how Avatar was going to have 3 sequels?
Oh, yeah.
Not anymore, Matt. Now it's going to have 4.
Oh.
4 sequels.
That's good.
So,
hey,
what?
Scott, I would like to make an announcement. I'm announcing that I'm going to make 12 sequels. See how easy that was?
So that is true. None of this work has actually been done. James Cameron just was at CinemaCon in Vegas last week and said that he's decided there are going to be 4 sequels, and they're going to come out every 2 years starting in 2018, I think. So look forward to Avatar 5 in 2024.
When James Cameron is like, I don't know how old he is actually, so that joke isn't really going to work. But yeah, I don't. Why would you commit yourself to that though? Like, if you're him, does he really love this world that much?
I guess so. I mean, it's basically him saying he's going to be working on Avatar until he's dead, right? I mean, that's like,
right. We're
not going to get any non-Avatar movies from Cameron for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it just seems like a very weird choice to make. Like, it's not even his most beloved property. It's just the one that made the most money, and that's, I think, because of like economics and coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked here about how we don't think that the Avatar film left any kind of cultural relevance at all. It did not impact the culture at all, and I don't. It's going to be almost 10 years by the time the first sequel comes out.
Gosh. So what you guys are basically saying is Sam Worthington found a job.
See, that's the thing. They haven't even announced that. Like, is it going to be the same characters? Is it going to be on the same world? Right. Like, what? Like, I mean, the interesting thing about Cameron and every single sequel he's done is that he took the property into a new, interesting direction. We did it with both Terminator 2 and with Aliens. So, I mean,
that's true.
Could he do the same thing here? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how many times you can like invert the same premise consecutively.
Well, here's the most ridiculous part of the announcement. Not these films are not being filmed back to back. It's not a Lord of the Rings situation. They're being filmed at the same time. So if there's a scene that takes place in Jungle A in Avatar 2 and Avatar 5, both those scenes are being filmed at the same time. And I say being filmed, the scripts haven't been written or anything, but that's his plan. He's going to film. And that's just like, that seems like a logistical nightmare to me. I mean, why would you ever do something that way?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm just some guy, but how can you be saying stuff like that when you don't even have scripts?
Yeah.
Well,
That's fair.
and aside from logistics, like I feel like doesn't it throw like I don't know. If you're an actor, I feel like it'd throw you out of rhythm a little bit from a story perspective. But
Yeah, I mean,
or a character, I mean, it's kind of like
I mean, they film movies out of order all the time, but yeah, this is taking that to a
sure
ridiculous level. Yeah,
maybe more like slightly annoying than such a limitation of your acting prowess, but still, It's just kind of that's a lot. That's a shit ton. I don't know why they do. Like, who's getting excited about that?
James Cameron.
I mean, is he?
Right.
There is. I don't know. I'm not exactly playing devil's advocate, but like, we do have this thing now with both Marvel and Star Wars where. And DC actually, where like you don't just make movies anymore, you make like 15 movie franchises, where all the movies talk to each other in some meta space. So maybe James Cameron's just like, I'm gonna get on board with that. This is my Avatar universe project that I'm launching.
And I think to actually play devil's advocate though, James Cameron has never really made a bad movie. I mean, Avatar wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody liked it the first time they saw it.
Yeah.
It just didn't really stick around.
So I mean,
well, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
the whole narrative is nothing to write home about. It was just, I mean, like you said, or like you've written, it was just visually incredible. It was, I think, the last 3D movie I saw on purpose.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, I don't think these movies are ever going to come out. I really don't. I think they're going to get delayed over and over again until Cameron dies. Because Avatar 2 has already been delayed and delayed and delayed. So I don't think this is going to happen, especially at something as ambitious as this. But also, we've been wrong about Cameron before. Everyone thought he was crazy when he built a 9/10 size replica of the Titanic and then sunk it. So he can pull something out that no one expects.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He's got the technical chops down.
And the thing is, I think we're all gonna see it. Like, I don't know if the entire world's gonna see it like they saw Avatar, but anyone that likes films and likes pushing, like seeing a film director push the envelope as far as what a movie can and can't do, I think is gonna want to see it.
Yeah, there's also the aspect of Cameron that kind of reminds me of Elon Musk, where you get the sense that he doesn't even care if anybody sees or likes his movie. I mean, obviously he's trying to make a good movie, but he's also just like you said, he's trying to innovate. He's trying to employ all these new technologies and techniques that he's dreamed up. It's like he's kind of like an engineer who just wants to test out his new engineering gimmicks, and it's always paid off for him. So it's exciting to see what he has in store for us this time, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we will see in 2018 when the first of 4 sequels comes out. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about was another piece of news from CinemaCon. The new head of AMC, Adam Aron, was in a talk, and he said that he would be interested in exploring allowing texting in certain theaters. He made some pretty insulting comments related to, you can't tell a 22-year-old to turn off their phone because that's like telling them to chop their arm off. So obviously the internet and film Twitter specifically lost their minds about this. Here's the thing. If you text in a movie, you're an asshole. Like that's there's no reason to do that. Like, I am on my phone all the time, and I am still able to put my phone away for 2 hours when I'm sitting in a movie theater. So it's a terrible idea, and the reaction was so bad that AMC has completely reversed their position. So what do you guys think about this? Have you ever experienced someone just whip out their phone in the middle of a movie and start texting?
Yeah. I mean, usually it's a friend or two, and it's a knock, and
ditch your friends.
Well, no. I mean, it's one of those things where they're not like texting, but like my friend Brian, like he'll look at his screen, like he's checking something, like a score of a game or something, and I'm like, dude, really? Like 2 hours? You can't put your phone away for two? Like it's an escape for there's a reason why it's in this room that's dark and all these seats where everyone gets together. Like you don't take a PlayStation to a trip to the Bahamas, like get out of here. No, that's ridiculous.
I guess some people don't realize necessarily that the cell phone screen is like a giant spotlight in a dark theater.
Right.
And everybody in like your entire quadrant of the theater is like blinded and distracted now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got scolded for looking at my phone during the trailers once, and
oh wow, that's a little harsh.
I didn't particularly think I deserved that, but
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not necessary.
I usually will it's usually like at the end of the last trailer, like the little clip that comes on whatever theater it is, telling you to be quiet. Basically, at that point, it's like that's when people are kind of putting their stuff away.
Yeah.
But to scold someone during a trailer, that's a little silly.
I mostly go to Alamo Drafthouse, which will literally is not afraid to throw people out without a refund if they see you on your phone. So I don't really experience it that often. But the thing that really upset me about this whole thing was this notion that it's millennials that need this because we're so attached to our phone. When I have seen people checking their phones in movie theaters, it's always been like 40-year-old plus people, like always. So this, like, I'm really annoyed with this millennials are addicted to their devices thing when it's everybody. Like, the entire country is addicted to cell phones.
Absolutely.
Fact, we were latecomers. It was like the people with the Blackberries first, and those are all the older generation.
Right. So yeah, that's what annoyed me the most.
It's crazy. It's just a crazy idea. Like, I guess really quickly, what they say is like what are they trying to say? Like, what's the appeal of doing that, or what's the change, or the?
They reference the second screen experience that like some TV shows do, where like you can have like information popping up on your device while you're watching the TV show. They reference just people wanting to have conversations on social media while we're watching this stuff. It's all stupid reasons. It's all dumb. The point of a movie is immersion. You're not supposed to be
commentary, like kind of like what was that old VH1 show that used to have the little commentary bubbles pop up as you're watching like music videos and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, there are people that live tweet movies, and it's I think it's stupid because the whole point, like, sit down and enjoy.
I agree.
Like, I don't even take notes during movies when I'm writing a review for them because I want to sit down and enjoy the movie. And I think when I get out of the movie, I think about stuff and I jot some stuff down. But like, I want to be.
It's not even
immersed.
an age thing, though. Like even when I was younger, I was pissed. Even if it was like my own family, I'd be like, "Can y'all please stop talking?" And maybe that's just the fact that we all enjoy and love movies for such a long time. But it's definitely not an age thing. It's just kind of like I'm an asshole thing.
Yeah. I am glad AMC backed off on this. Now
interesting idea.
I wish AMC would enforce their own policy because AMC is one of the theaters that is notorious for saying to people you can't be on your phone, but they never do anything about it. So that's why we'll continue to go to Alamo Drafthouse.
Which is why it does not exist in San Antonio anymore. They were all bought. No, but that's gotcha.
All right. So our final news item is dealing with the DC universe again because Matt, you know how much I love talk about them.
That's our favorite thing.
So there was a animated cartoon being made of The Killing Joke, which was a very popular comic book. I think it came out in the 80s. It was basically one in which the Joker does some pretty brutal stuff to Batgirl. The cartoon has been rated R, so this is going to be a rated R dark cartoon. So I don't know about you guys, like, I love DC superheroes. Like, I love Superman. I think Batman's really interesting. I am so sick of like just this dark, gritty thing. Can't we just embrace the silliness and the cartooniness of these characters? Like, I don't want to see a rated R movie. Like, I don't want to see this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm obviously not going to see it, but I did really enjoy the Batman animated series, which
Yeah.
was not, it was never rated R. It was never anything worse than PG, I don't think. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is like that was actually kind of a very serious tone for a cartoon,
Right.
but it wasn't.
Which
It
was like
was
on Fox Kids and stuff.
right, and it wasn't like super violent, and it didn't need anything like that. Like it would have been a weakness, it would have been it was almost like the show was better because of the constraints that it had on it. Because if they
Yeah.
could go full violence, then they would have lost like the, I don't know, the emotions underlying that. I don't know. It was good. It was that was really good. I could do a whole podcast about the Batman animated series, honestly.
And maybe we will one day. No, I like that show a lot too. I think it works because it takes the core conceit seriously, and I think that's fine and that works. I just think this thing is wearing the rated R rating like a badge of honor, because like look how
Oh yeah.
look how dark and violent it's gonna be. Like it's somehow makes it better, and I'm much more okay with one-off things like this being like a different take on the superheroes than I am like the core movie series, like with Batman vs Superman. So I'm more okay with this, but I'm just like, DC just seems like a company that's much more interested in doing these kind of things instead of having some fun with it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I never read this comic, but I know what happens in it, and I'm just not interested in watching this story unfold. It's pretty terrible. It's gruesome and disgusting, and I don't want to see that, especially in a cartoon.
And so Warner Brothers controls all the Batman film rights?
So that's a good question. I don't know who's producing this. I would assume that they do. They control both animated and live action, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
It's got like just kind of the news itself. It kind of has like a real grasping feeling to me, and it kind of reminds me of, I think over a decade ago when the what do you call it, the computer animated Final Fantasy movie came out, and everybody like read the title and they got super excited because they thought it was like, Final Fantasy the game, a story from that, and they kind of like, have those really cool like, computer effects and stuff like that, and really the whole project was just it was a piece of garbage. Yeah, it wasn't good at all. Like there was nothing great about that movie. And this kind of like, don't get me wrong, like obviously the material is a lot different, and it's obviously based off of something that already exists, that it's going to be adapting. But in terms of the idea, like stop grasping, like fix your current problem, which is the movies, the live action movies at the moment. But I don't know. I guess these days, the amount of kids and money being thrown around, it's like, well, I guess in this case it's rated R, but I feel like in this case they're just kind of catering to every possible fanboy they can find in any crack of the world, pretty much. But I don't know.
That's true.
We'll see. I mean, I'll see it for sure, just because.
All right, you'll have to tell me how it is, because I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I'll probably end up seeing it. I'll be curious.
It does have the Batman animated series. The voice of Batman Bruce Wayne is back, and Mark Hamill is back as the Joker. So
oh, nice.
At least it's got some good voice actors.
Yeah, it's gonna be really awkward, and uncomfortable feeling when it like starts and it's like a rape scene at the very beginning. It's gonna be like, oh god. So it's this type of movie.
Well, I don't think it's at the very beginning.
No, I know. In general.
Way to spoil it, Gentry.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All of our listeners were gonna go see this movie.
I'm sure they were.
The harassment scene.
Yeah, all we talk about this type of stuff a lot, but like the only Batman comic that I actually ever owned physically was like a horribly violent, disgusting, just like unpleasant thing. Like it wasn't. Yeah, it was probably more like this movie is going to be than like any of the other Batman movies were. So this sort of level of storytelling was definitely always in the source material. I can say that much.
Yeah, and that whenever you have a character that's been around for 80 years, like they're gonna any way to explore the character is gonna be done eventually at some point. But like this and the Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's like turn at it has become like the definitive Batman that people think about, and I don't like that Batman as much. But
I agree.
But that's okay. Some people do, and they will watch the movie, and Deadpool will get more money domestically than Batman vs Superman. So that's funny. All right,
fantastic.
Let's move on to our main event. Let's talk some Game of Thrones. Let's get really nerdy with this, Gentry.
Yeah.
So, guys, the way I wanted to do this was just kind of talk about all our characters are really spread out right now into different parts of the world of Westeros. So I wanted to go kind of geographic region by region and talk about what we think is going to happen with these characters this season. The important thing to note is this is I think the third to last season, and I think there was an announcement sometime last week that said that the final 2 seasons might not be a full 10 episodes each. I think they said something like right now with their plans, there are 23 episodes of Game of Thrones left. So after the season,
not
only
the season, obviously.
No, including the season.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So after the
How many are in
season,
the season 10.
10. Yeah. So we've got a lot to do this season to bring the story to
clearly
it's a nearing conclusion. So let's start with the big one. Let's start in the north because I think this is where a lot of our characters are and a lot is happening. So Gentry, Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, betrayed by Ollie in the Night's Watch.
So he's dead, right? He's totally dead.
Oh yeah, he's dead. He's a corpsicle, as they call it. No, he's I mean, obviously in the trailer, right? We see him kind of laying on the table. I mean, he's clearly there's zero life in him. He's just sitting there. It almost looks like Davos is kind of protecting his body. He's holding Longclaw, and he's kind of talking, and you're kind of wondering, it's kind of a voiceover really in the trailer. So, it's like, is he talking to the men inside the room also protecting him, or Ghost, or himself? But yeah, he's dead, and just kind of really sticking to the series and the ice and fire aspect of the whole thing.
All right, so how many episodes until he comes back?
So I was telling some of my coworkers, my best guess was like, I'd say like 4 episodes. That's kind of what I was. That's what I was. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they waited till like episode 7 or something ridiculous and just pissed off a bunch of people. But at the same time, I'm like, we need some progression of the story. And there's a lot of talk about Jon leading some kind of army, whether it's, the wildlings themselves or the wildlings mixed with the North or everybody against the Boltons. But, because of that and because they need to keep it moving, I'm going to guess, by episode 4, he should be some kind of resurrected.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we've...
late May, I guess. So
Matt, you and I said from literally the moment he died that he was coming back, right?
Right.
So it was kind of a foregone conclusion. The question was always just how are they going to do it. Then, of course,
sure.
Set photos leaked of him on the set shooting.
Right.
So we knew he was coming back, and we knew he was coming back in his form.
Yeah,
right.
I think he's wearing Stark clothes.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And then a lot of the trailers, and I think 3 of us have probably spent way too much time watching these trailers over and over again and kind of dissecting them. It seems like they're setting up what people are calling the Battle of the Bastards in this season, which is the fight between Jon Snow and his wildlings against the Boltons. That we've seen a lot of shots of a fight between wildlings and Boltons and some of the northern people mixed in. There was that one shot that it seemed like Jon was in the background riding around. So this is definitely going to happen. Do you think this is going to be our episode 9 giant battle that they normally do? Matt, what do you think?
Well, now that you've put it to me that way, yeah, that does seem likely. I'm still struggling with how they're going to bring him back exactly, because it's always very touchy narrative territory to kill a character, especially when like your whole audience knows they're not really dead. It just seems very cheap, and
Yeah.
I sort of hold Game of Thrones to a higher standard than that. I mean, we know that in the books they have brought people back from the dead before, but it's always sort of with a lot of limitations, and like
Right.
it's like they're almost a shell of themselves. So if Jon Snow has this terrible betrayal that he's sort of, earned in the same way that his uh that his adoptive father that his father has achieved, or has earned, they earn their deaths by being too honorable, right? But then if John just gets out of it scot free, it's going to feel really cheap. But all that said, you're exactly right that they have to kind of keep the ball moving, with respect to the North storyline, and
Yeah.
having him alive and then having this battle by the end of the season does seem like that would be a fairly adequate narrative pacing. I agree.
Yeah, I would guess episode 3 is they're gonna have a couple episodes that are set things up, and then we're gonna have an episode that's probably gonna primarily deal with him coming back to life, and it's probably gonna be through the red priestess Melisandre somehow. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how they're gonna do it, because there is some weird stuff with bringing them back. I think that
Yeah.
the important thing with him dying, though, is it, like, narratively, it releases him from his Night's Watch vows.
Right.
So he's technically not bound by the vows.
That'll be common, I think, in
Yeah.
both, for sure.
So I think a reborn. So, but do you think, like, does he wake up and then say, "Oh, I'm pissed off at the Boltons," and he ride out to stop them, or does he realize that in order to protect the wall, does he continue to be Noble John, and part of the plan to protect the wall is to ride out against the Boltons and defeat that army first? How do you think they're going to set that up?
I think the one thing to think about is what kind of John are we getting when he's brought back? Is it, like Matt said, is he going to be kind of a shell, or is he going to be some kind of twisted other, parallel version of him? Like, to me, I feel like any type of resurrection that occurs, even in the show, and any type of resurrection that does occur is going to completely change his mindset to almost disregard everybody around him, but still think about the wall and the night, I guess the Night's King that he had the little stare down with. So yeah, I guess it's hard for me to believe that he would just kind of abandon the whole wall situation. Or maybe he's thinking wherever he gets resurrected, he's not actually near the wall, and so maybe he kind of turns his eye to saving, or maybe he finds out that, like, Sansa's been captured again, right? Because they do escape, and then maybe he decides to rally the remaining troops of Stannis, or whoever's left, basically via Davos, and get this army together to bring them down. It could be a full circle thing, since last season ended with a complete destruction of Stannis' army. This can be like the redo attempt led by, basically, the guy that was kind of born for it in the North at this point.
Yeah. I think so. The one thing I do want to say about all of our predictions is, in the past, the trailers for the seasons have never shown any shots from that far into the season. So it's normally they've normally only shown us stuff from, like, the first 4 or 5 episodes. So either they're in the trailers showing us stuff way further in the season, or that this big battle happens way earlier in the season than we're thinking it does.
Right.
Which means, like, what is the big, huge climactic one going to be at the end of the season? That could be something crazy in King's Landing, or we don't know. We don't even know. But we'll find out. But
sure, no, there's not a lot of there's no trailer hints of any type of Blackwater or Hardhome episode as of now, and the speculation, everything points to the North, but it's like, is that, like, are they just, is that the twist, right? Are they gonna, like, just give this that again? Be like, oh, there's another battle in the North, like, whatever. But it wouldn't shock me if it was something in King's Landing, or I do think the wall's gonna fall. I just don't think it's gonna be part of a epic second to last episode. I think it's gonna be on the last episode.
Aren't we also supposed to get some kind of giant Slaver's Bay conflict, or did that already sort of happen? Or is that just not going to happen in the show?
I feel like they've written that out. I mean, you're right. The book
I don't
ends.
think it's gonna be there.
The book ends where there's about to be this giant battle in front of Marine, right?
Oh yeah.
And
multiple POVs.
I don't think that's gonna happen. It doesn't seem like it. I have no. We'll get to Marine, but that's the part I probably know the least about. So let's, before we move on, I want to talk generally where we think this show is going to go, because you said you think the wall is going to fall down, Gentry, and I think you're probably right. So
but
where,
like it's going to be like no one. It's going to be one of those things where it's like good. You know, protagonists are finally getting something good. You know, Ramsay gets killed, or Daenerys gets freed or something, and then everyone's going to seem kind of happy, and then at the very end it's going to be like, holy shit. This just changed everything.
So let's flash forward then to 2 years from now.
Okay.
Where does the final confrontation between these two sides take place? Because we know, like, there's been so much imagery and hint towards it snowing inside the Red Keep in King's Landing.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that where do you think that's where it's going to happen?
Yeah.
It seems like maybe, but that's moving a lot of characters south.
I mean, I don't know. Like, if they did that, it would be, perfect. like some kind of, what do you call it? Like indirect positioning, or perfect in, whatever. Getting that scene in there, to me, was them not knowing how to do the House of the Undying. That was me. Like, they'd had no idea what the hell to do, because it was such a. Well, no, I mean, and that's what I got from watching the show at the time. Like, watching that, live, thinking like, oh, great, like, okay, they had to do something. They did this little tower, blah blah blah, and it's like they have these random ass 3 scenes, and I was like, well, now that you mention it, Scott, I mean, it wouldn't shock me, I guess, if they try to piggyback off of that and actually bring, I mean, ultimately in the history of everything, winter does go pretty far south, or in terms of the long night, it was basically covering everything, and ultimately everything does come back around in this story.
And there's a certain amount of poetic narrative with this. The fight has been for the Iron Throne the whole time, and this final battle between the actual good and evil takes place in that same place. So there's it's kind of poetic, but
another potential element of poetry, though, would be to have it on the trident, because that's kind of
that's
the
my
ball was set rolling, and I don't think there's been any other set pieces on the trident, which if we say the trident, which is actually like a giant like river formation, with a ford.
That's true too. Yeah.
Trying to look up where this is geographically, I just feel like if people start saying like, their forces are heading toward the trident, then I'll be like, yep, that's it. That's where it's going.
Well, no, Matt, actually, I actually agree, and I was basically going to say, like, to me, I think where it does end is going to be somewhere that's going to have some kind of significance. There's a real like concentration of like locations basically in the middle of Westeros that have like a lot of history and a lot of supernatural, magical elements and stuff. So the trident, obviously, yes, big it's story lore. You have Mo Kalen, who is like one of the last defenses against anybody coming from the south. You have the God's Eye that has all the weirwoods. All these places are actually pretty close to each other.
See, this is why we have Gentry on the podcast, because he can just name off these places.
and I'm looking at this map here, and where it's marking the trident is fairly near Harrenhal and River Run and the Erie. Like, they're all sort of around it. So it's like
the Gates of the Moon, like all these places. If you think about a lot of like the past wars and stuff, a lot of like the big, I mean, again, they had dragons and stuff, but like a lot of the big battles happened over these places. A lot of the First Men wars and stuff happened at Mo Kalen, like stuff like that. So, it's just a matter of like what happens in the progression. Like, as winter gets so far south, like I at the moment I can't really fathom like what's going to be gobbled up by this horrible, onslaught, I guess, that we don't even understand at the moment.
I think it's going to take place in Walder Frey's Keep. That's where
Yeah.
On the twins, on the big bridge, on the long bridge.
Yep.
Yeah.
The final duel, like Harry Potter and Voldemort.
But
Exactly.
it is kind of funny how like I feel like I can make some sorts of predictions with confidence because they're sort of narratively foreshadowed or
Yeah,
or
exactly.
that's just the way the story has to be structured, like where it's just sort of like if you don't do this then a lot of things that happened were pointless.
Right.
But that said, like I have no idea
Oh, no
how
idea.
the chips are going to fall for the next, beyond a few predictions.
Sure.
And part of me thinks if it's gonna fall as like a lot of these predictions, yeah, they seem like common sense. And if everything happens that way, it's gonna kind of make for a boring story, right? I mean, like if everything's so obvious and okay, now the White Walkers are gonna invade from the north.
Sure.
And there's gonna be a big like. Is that really gonna be how things? I don't know. I just like I would expect more from Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
I agree with you because this has always been my thing that I've said about the book series before there was ever a show. I would say like the best thing about Martin's writing is that like it seems like he's going to zig and foreshadows that he might zag, but then when you actually get to that point, he actually zogs. He does the
Oh, yeah.
third thing that never occurred to you, and yet
Absolutely.
is still better than either of the other things that you were like imagining would happen.
Yeah.
And I almost think sometimes he sets things up so that you have something in mind, just so that he can not do that,
Right.
which is
You
pretty
know,
masterful.
and I will give credit, to the show and, the showrunners basically, Hard Home as an episode, I had no idea that was coming. Like in the book, you have this like, quick, this quick sharing of news or this account of basically what some of these men saw at Hardhome, but it's an aside, it's just a quick like, oh dear, like I can't believe all these people were slaughtered and what happened to them. It's a big mystery. But the fact that the show, they basically decided to take it to, take it to the show and actually show us was fantastic. And the fact that to
Yeah.
me that episode lived up and possibly surpassed the Blackwater episode, in my opinion, is incredible. I mean, they literally took a few lines of a paragraph in one of the obviously a book that's ginormous and they created this beautiful episode of it. So I mean it wouldn't surprise me that there's going to be some nice twist and yeah, like the I mean, right, I think there's some obvious points that George like kind of I think he kind of like starts to feed us and then he like at the very end he'll just like slap the spoon out of our hands type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's like the
I
White
like that
Walkers,
you
right?
used a food analogy with George R. R. Martin. It's pretty perfect.
Yeah,
Lemon
guy loves his food.
cakes.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's what makes it exciting, right? And I really hope I would be thrilled if every prediction we make on this thing today is wrong because that would mean
Oh yeah.
stuff went in a different direction than we were planning. I think we're going to be probably 50-50 on a lot of this stuff.
Right.
So let's talk about Bran real quick. He was absent from, was it 2 seasons or just 1 that he wasn't in at all?
I think it was just one.
It feels like it's been forever.
It was just last season, I think.
Yeah, he looks about 30 years old now. And so we've been talking about the Battle of the Bastards in the North and what we think is going to happen, the wall crashing. What do we think is his role in this thing? Because in the trailers, it's kind of hinted that at one point his little the tree roots that he's in is going to be attacked by White Walkers, and there's a scene I think with Hodor carrying him as they flee. So he's going to have to leave, and I guess head south. Do you think he's going to be involved in Jon's resurrection, or he's just going to like rejoin up with Jon to lead this army? I mean, he's kind of the most powerful one out of all of them, right?
Yeah, right. So Bran's at this point, I think, and again, the show's taken a little bit of, well, actually, I wouldn't say any liberties necessarily, but yeah, he's the most, I would say, the most powerful, has the most potential. I don't even know, like he's like beyond a green seer. I think he's like he's how like they recount kind of how the children, how the green seers eventually became so bad, or even like some of the some of the priests of the Royne, in Essos. Like when things became so bad, they basically called upon, using their special abilities or forces or whatever to like create the elements, and the elements kind of rose up and destroyed whatever menace was at hand. So again, all that is stuff we're used to, and maybe not the most original, but like I think Bran is that type of character where he's replacing Bloodraven as the Three-Eyed Crow, and I don't think he moves. Right. I don't think he moves from there. I don't think he helps in Jon's resurrection. If anything, I think he helps in Jon's understanding of who he is, or maybe because there's not a whole lot of ways that they can really tell Jon about his parents at this point. In the book, we don't even know what's going to happen, and no one is yet to see Howland Reed, the most mysterious character in the whole series. So, I'm thinking Bran will be there to kind of help show Jon the way. But who knows? I mean, they could throw it for another twist, and maybe someone takes his body north of the wall, and somehow Bran, they converge in some special place, and he gets resurrected, or who knows? But yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess it depends on how much power they give him in terms of whether he has like just visions, or if he can actually speak to characters like he does in the book when he whispers to Theon, or well, Bloodraven does, I guess. But kind of the same idea, and I'm just not sure how far they're gonna take it, I guess.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think I heard some offhand comment somewhere that we're gonna see either in the next book or in the next season or something. We're gonna see the really, really far north. And it seems to me that Bran is the character who would take us there, because I don't really see Jon going to the very, very far north, because he has to. Yeah. I mean, in the end, he has to meet up with Daenerys for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But Bran really has no investment and is almost sort of going off this weird sort of almost dark path. I did want to ask you guys what you think about the idea that he actually is going to become a bad guy. Yeah, that Bran is going to become a bad guy. Like, because we see Arya sort of basically becoming a bad guy in the same, and it's like we don't really know the nature of these quote, fire god and ice god. Like for all we know, they're all bad, and none of them have our interests in mind. But it does seem like Bran and Arya are interestingly both being sort of pulled into the orbit of darkness.
It's very possible.
That would bum me out a little bit. I don't know.
Sure. Well,
I want to see him warg into a dragon. That's what I want to see happen. Make that happen.
Yeah.
Show.
Well. Yeah, I forget. Was there?
That's another thing, I guess, too. Is like, is he going to warg into some type of incredible beast, or But yeah, I mean, there's been, I guess, there's always talk, of course, about like what side, the connections of the Three-Eyed Crow, Bloodraven, and Bran to the Great Other, or R'hllor's opposite, the enemy. You have, cold and hot, and light and dark, and life and death, and all these comparisons of the book and stuff that Melisandre's making. But I don't know. I think that's kind of supposed to lead us on. Like, I think it's supposed to confuse people as to, basically saying that this ally, this enemy of everybody that's of all living things is actually bad. But there's a good chance that it could be some actual like misunderstanding. Like, Bloodraven is one of those characters that you don't get in the canon, but you get very small bits in some of his other works. Like I think he gets a few lines in the Duncan Egg Tales. And you get some flashbacks, and you get some history about him, but you don't really know, as in terms of like, aside from all his political savvy and all his crazy manipulations and all that stuff that happened in the South before he got sent to the wall. He wasn't, I don't think he was necessarily a terrible, terrible person, or at least until he goes when he becomes part of the Night's Watch and then deserts and goes beyond the wall, there's some kind of a change that occurs. And,
I don't even know what character you're talking about, to be honest with you.
Bloodraven?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who's like stuck in the tree roots permanently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
sorry,
that's kind of funny, because the show makes no effort to explain who that is.
No.
The books may offhandedly mention that a person named Bloodraven exists, and then you have to go read all the Dunk and Egg stories and learn that like there was this guy 100 years ago who was a Targaryen. Forget if he was a bastard or just like a younger
He was
sibling.
a bastard.
Yeah,
he was.
And he was a powerful warg, and
Right.
he went in and he went off to join the Night's Watch just because that's what you did if you were a Targaryen bastard, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was like really important in all like the Blackfire Rebellion.
Right.
He basically I think he was like in charge of putting down the Blackfire Rebellion.
He was, yeah.
And
well, it's like you have these characters, right? So you have the Starks and the Targaryens. You have the Song of Ice and Fire. You have Jon and Dany, right? There's all these connections, right? As the great George Lucas says, it's poetry. It's poetry. It rhymes.
Don't quote that. That's terrible.
I know. I'm just kidding. I just had to throw it in there because it's too funny. But no, what I'm saying is basically there's very few actual instances where you have characters that are both. Have kind of the Valyrian like Targaryen side blood, and then also have like the blood of the First Men. So the one thing I think about with Bloodraven is yes, he's one of the great bastards, and he's corrupt, blah blah. Like all the politics are pretty dark and shitty, and his father was horrible. But ultimately, he's one of the few other characters, assuming that Jon is who he is or who everyone thinks he is. He's one of the few characters that has both blood in him. So there's something a little bit more to what he's actually bringing. I guess the question is, how far do they get into that in the show?
I don't think really at all.
Well, we don't know that because they haven't really showed it. This is going to be the first they casted. What's his face? The guy that's in. God, he's a good elder actor. I hate that I just remember him from Judge Dredd.
Oh yes, Von Sydow.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
Next Von Sydow.
Yes, exactly.
Wait, he's in this now?
So he's gonna. I'm pretty sure they casted him as Bloodraven, or as
Really?
Red Crow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on because we could spend an hour.
You said to get nerdy, Scott.
I know, but we got
kidding.
we got so much else to cover.
I know. Basically, I think his brand is going to continue being good, but I think he's more of a neutral good. Like I think he's going to help keep things in order, which may require some sacrifices. So he may end up being evil. Who knows?
All right. Let's move on to the Iron Islands because the Kingsmoot with the Greyjoys that happened in the book that was completely skipped in the show is now happening. So this is the one thing that we kind of have knowledge of because it has happened in the books before.
Right.
So my thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, are we going to do all this Iron Island stuff, or are they just going to kind of give us an abridged version?
So they've taken Theon's and his two brothers and combined them into one character, I believe. So there's not.
Okay.
This is what I want to talk about because I have no idea what they're going to do with this. Like,
yeah. Euron's there, right?
Yeah.
So they have the evil one.
So they've combined Euron and I forget
Victoria?
the other guy's name. Yeah.
Victorian.
They've combined them into one character.
Right.
So he's most likely going to win the Kingsmoot, and he's going to do what happens in the book, which is sail to see Dany with the horn that supposedly controls dragons, right? But what does this have to do with anything? And like, I thought when they decided to skip this whole thing in the show, it meant that it had no greater importance to the narrative.
Yeah.
But it seems like now we're definitely saying it does. So,
I actually am kind of at a loss as well. I don't know why they all of a sudden decided to bring him in, other than to, satiate all the fans' wants. There's a bunch of fans that were furious when the Greyjoys get skipped or when Euron's not around.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I think they're devoting too much time to it.
Are they?
To just be that like.
What's funny is those same fans were probably furious when Euron was introduced in the first place, because, or at least when Victarion became a character. Because like, I remember when I was reading the book, I was more like, oh come on, more new characters.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was. Yeah.
And it's like I don't want any more obstacles trying to steal Dany's dragons before she gets to Westeros. Just get her to Westeros, and then. Yeah, and I mean, and I'm sort of being silly because honestly, I love all the twists and turns, but
Sure. I mean,
this would be the thing to cut out if you were going to cut something out.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. I'm not really sure where they can actually take this because, I mean, I guess maybe they'll bring out the horn. I guess they have to, right?
Yeah, it's got to be something to do with
they have to.
that horn.
But no one will get to Dany from that side. They'll, in fact, if anything, it'll be a convergence on Westeros whenever she heads that way.
That could be.
I'm thinking because there's not enough time. You just can't. Like if they're not going to do Tyrion's journey, then why the hell would they do this? This double character guy.
Right.
Combined.
I do think. Just knowing the show, I don't think they'll miss the opportunity to do the scene where he's where he finds the sorcerer, and the sorcerer is like, well, the gods return what you give them in equal measure, and then he burns 7 young girls alive, and then the gods and then a great wind comes and helps him, which at this point in reading these books you can only interpret as the gods truly are evil bastards.
Right.
Yeah. I bet you they do that too. You're absolutely right. But I don't know what else. I don't know what else to talk about with the Greyjoys. I don't know. I was very surprised they decided to do this. So we'll see. This is a pretty big unknown for us, I think.
Yeah.
Let's move to King's Landing.
Yeah.
So
okay.
From what we've seen in the previews, Jaime is going to come back from Dorne, with he and Cersei's daughter's corpse because the princess is dead. That's how last season ends. So I would imagine, knowing Cersei, she's not going to take that very well, especially after her shame thing with the sparrows at the end of last season. So we've seen her with her mountain Frankenstein monster. We're probably going to see her and Jaime take down the Faith Militant, I'd guess. There's rumors that the Queen, Natalie Dormer, converts.
Marjorie?
Yeah, Marjorie. There's the name I'm looking for. Thank you. Converts to the Faith Militant at some point, and that's why there's a scene in the trailer that shows all of Highgarden at the steps of the Sept, basically trying to probably get Marjorie back. So that might happen.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
There's also scenes that hint that Jaime leads the siege on River Run, because that's a part that happened in the book that they kind of cut out. That they besiege River Run because there's still the Tullys still actively rebelling against the king. So
right.
There's a lot of stuff to happen here, but I don't know how any of it matters.
Ties in.
Yeah,
right. No, I don't know. I mean, well, yeah. There's then I mean the one thing I did notice in the trailer when it does show Natalie Dormer is that's her hugging Loras, right? In the dungeon, I guess. They're still there. There's a really quick clip where there's it shows a guy staring at the camera and he's all dirty and filthy, and then the next 2 seconds is basically Marjorie hugging him on the floor.
I thought she was hugging the High Sparrow. I thought she was at the feet of the High Sparrow. I thought that's what that was, but maybe we're talking about a different scene. I don't know.
It's possible. It just looked like she was holding Laura. So if anything, I can totally see that happening. But as a total trick, just as a complete bullshit, because that's her character. That's her family. They play dumb, except for her father's really dumb, but who's not in the show. But no, I mean, I'm saying everyone, they're all very smart. The Queen of Thorns, even Loras, their idea of kind of how they came into power or whatever, it could rear its head in this one where it's they kind of feign that she's gonna all of a sudden become part of the faith and then totally pull it out from under him and have another type of red wedding scene type of thing.
Well, but this is what concerns me about the show and the story in general is Cersei is a great character. I love her. Sure. I love the story, but the weird fucked up story between her and Jaime. I like all that. But we are 23 episodes to go in a 70-something episode show. So we're in the back third now. We have to start moving towards what the overall plot and conflict of this story is going to be.
Right.
And I still don't understand how any of these characters in this spot play into that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they have to have positioned him somehow in the script to kind of all these, I would say, these three parties come together. Really kind of the remaining Lannisters, the Tyrells, and the Faith. But because it's all new material, they could literally do anything they want.
Yeah.
They can have, Sir Robert Strong all of a sudden just take out his gigantic two-handed long, greatsword and just chop fucking Loras in half or something. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't surprise me if something ridiculous happened like that. Because people probably would have thought the same thing when they had the duel with the Red Viper. If people had not known, like if that had been new, people would have been it would have been even more shocking. So
yeah, I
can't pin it, and I think your prediction is probably close as on board.
I feel like if you just go for like a narrative solution of like what creates the most drama, it would be, we really want Marjorie to win, so she's not going to. We really want Jaime to like come into his own, so he's not going to. We really want Cersei to like get her comeuppance and be totally destroyed, so she's going to be the queen and in complete control of everything. And under her complete insanity, after she loses her only remaining child, she's going to basically cause the whole like what remains of the area controlled by the Lannisters to go into complete chaos.
Yeah.
Because really fundamentally what's happening and what's been happening since Feast for Crows is everything in Westeros is just completely disintegrating. And when the White Walkers come through, it's going to be like a knife through butter. And similarly, when whatever comes up from the south happens in the books, it's fake Aegon. But I don't know what they're going to do in the show.
Remember in the show the first and only flashback before the one that I guess the first and only flashback so far was Cersei as a young girl basically meeting Maggie the Frog and getting her prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like this would be a good time to for them to pull the rug out and basically have Natalie Dormer rise up, like beginning of the season, middle of the season, like taking her down, and then she's gonna get killed. She's gonna be Cersei's gonna do something. And overthrow her basically, and maybe not even Robert Strong. Maybe it's like going to be some, accident or something, or she's going to get crushed under, I don't know, who knows? Maybe the sept's going to fall or something crazy. But when that happens, and Cersei rises back to the position that she was in before she kind of, fucked herself over. At that point, which again could be at the end of this season, unfortunately, could be possibly at the end of next season. We're not really sure yet, but at that point, Daenerys shows up, and that's when the prophecy is fulfilled. And that's when Cersei, because that realization is coming. I mean, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
George, his foreshadowing was perfect in that sense, to where, at this point, if Myrcella's died in the show, and Joffrey's obviously dead in both, it's unfortunate, and I don't want to see it, but it's a good chance that her kids are going to die, and
Tommen's dead.
And she's going to realize that Daenerys is actually the one that Maggie was talking about.
Right, and
so
also we know who's going to kill her, and it's not who she thinks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I guess we can,
we've pretty much spoiled everything.
It doesn't.
But at this point, we're not only spoiling, we're like we're revealing things that have been puzzled out from extremely complicated conjecture. But once you hear them, they're true.
Right.
But let's not pull that trigger then. Let's
sure. No, because then we'll get into much book territory.
Okay, so let's move then over to Dany. Let's move across the sea. So,
by the way, just really quick, I kind of like her look. She's still looking pretty hot, even with that short hair and all messed up and shit.
Cersei?
Yeah. Still looking good.
All right.
That's it.
Lena Headey doing great.
Oh,
Okay. So Daenerys, we left off with Daenerys when she was surrounded by Dothraki. The trailers show us that she's going to get together with them. There's that giant horse statue in the trailer, so they're going to what's Gentry? You know the name of the main city.
What? Oh, Vice Dothrak.
There you go. See, that's
Yeah.
why we got you here. So
Yeah, they're gonna go lead her back, or I guess she's a prisoner.
So is this going to be finally her army that has been teased? Like this is the army that she's going to use to invade Westeros.
I don't know. I mean, I guess. I mean, for the purposes of finally getting her across that, extremely large continent. I'm not really sure what they're planning on doing.
So let's do this. Do you think one, by the end of this season, Dany will be on Westeros, and two, where will it be? Will she land in Dorne, or will it just be a King's Landing thing?
Got it. Based off of the trailer, what I've seen so far, I think she will arrive at the end of the season. And it could be it could be the second to last episode. Maybe it could be such a huge deal for all sorts of fans that she finally arrives that they end up making that the second episode, and they have some kind of little mini story going on or some little battle. So my thinking is, I don't know. I mean, I guess it can be a little cliche and she lands on Dragonstone, right? Like Aegon does, but I wouldn't be surprised if she landed like in Dorne or, the Reach or something. I think it's going to be in the South. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to be like, I don't think it's going to be in King's Landing. Like Dragonstone would be the obvious choice, and King's Landing soon after that. But my guess would be more southern than that.
Matt, do you concur?
I don't think I can formulate a strong opinion about this. I mean, I'm not even convinced that
it's going to be this season,
or that she's going to come to Westeros in the conventional way that we tend to imagine it. Like historically, the Dothraki have refused to put their horses on boats in the first place,
right?
And the only reason she
I don't think she's coming with the army.
I don't think she's coming with the army. I don't even know if. I don't know.
They're going to hide her in a crate like Tyrion.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I mean,
like that.
Really, almost anything. You could convince me of almost anything. I wouldn't be, and I've said this before, I wouldn't be surprised if she never physically makes it to Westeros.
Really? Really?
Also, a big fan.
I'd be so mad.
There's a lot. There's like a small little like group of fans that are really hoping that she doesn't make it. They just think it'd be so much better. Again, that's more of the book version, though. I can't really speak for the show.
Pragmatically, because she basically at one point chose, she's like, I'm not going to go to Westeros right now. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to learn how to rule in Meereen. And what actually happens is she sort of fails miserably as a ruler, and then she goes and has a spirit quest where her spirit guide tells her Targaryens aren't meant to rule, they're meant to conquer in fire and blood, which does suggest that she's going to go to Westeros with her newfound insanity.
Right.
But I don't know how it's going to happen.
Okay. So what do we think Tyrion's role in that whole thing is? So there's a lot happening in Meereen in her absence. We have a new Red Priestess is going to show up. We've seen her in the trailers.
Right.
We've got Tyrion talking about we need to release the other two dragons because they don't do very well pent up. We even have the stupid fake out trailer where it makes it look like he's killed in a trailer, which would never happen ever. So that's just a dumb fake out. So what is his? I mean, at first it made sense that, like, he's going to advise her because he's good at that, but now I don't know. So I mean, is his role in this really just going to be to take the Quentin Martell role of releasing the two dragons?
I think it's going to be a mixture of the Quentin Martell role and the role that Sir Barristan had in the book.
Yeah,
where
he's
he
going to
basically
definitely defend the city.
Yeah, but the thing about he's going to defend the city, he's going to sort of uproot the conspiracy that was the Harpies. He's going to uproot the conspiracy of the Harpies. However, there's a lot of evidence that Sir Barristan was actually played for a fool in the book, which hasn't really, the other shoe hasn't dropped on that yet. But there are a lot of compelling theories that everything Sir Barristan did in the book, which you were rooting for at the time, was actually just him completely being manipulated. But anyway, I don't see, that's the thing. I don't see Tyrion being manipulated like that. Like that would be really, I don't know if out of character is the right word, but he's like the cleverest person in the story. So
right. It needs him to play that role.
Yeah.
Or else it loses everything that is good about him and that people like.
I mean, I think there'll be some kind of a, because I think Yunkai, they still talk about the Yunkai like actually still being there in front of the city, kind of ready to take it down. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was like coming, or maybe there was like a quick mention of it. So if anything, I mean, I think he defends it at some point, or maybe like does something smart, because, I mean, think about it. I mean, it actually works out pretty nicely, right? I guess, I mean, it sucks that Barristan got, taken off last season, but you have Tyrion, who kind of ran the whole battle of the Blackwater with all his with his amazing trickery and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if they allowed him to do the same thing in Marines, not only to not only to help protect the city and the dragons and everything, but just so Dany can actually see what he's worth. Plus Tyrion brings a lot of the history, plus amazing conversation between him and Dany and Varys, which I'm actually looking forward to the most at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely a combination of those characters that really, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I really have no idea what story they're going with to kind of start the whole East part,
Yeah.
Again, maybe it will focus on Dany for like a couple of episodes, just because I feel like the last 2 seasons, they haven't showed her a whole ton.
That's because her story was really boring and terribly written. Just
it wasn't great, that's for sure.
I'm blaming that on George R.R. Martin, not the writers of the show.
Stop it. Stop it.
Stop
it before I send you an essay.
The whole Dany and Marine thing was, send me an essay, please. I'd love to read it, because
I will.
Yeah, well, so I wouldn't. I mean, well, I don't know if it's an essay, but there is a really, really interesting theory about what's actually going on behind the scenes, which makes me kind of want to go read it again, because, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it, but basically, you, the reader, are supposed to be kind of annoyed and confused at how all these Myronese characters are interchangeable and have annoying names that are impossible to remember, because that's how Dany is experiencing it, and she's really blind to all of the factions that exist and the really ancient interests that are happening there, and it's it's not her place. Her place is Westeros, and that's kind of the subtext there. But anyway,
yeah, that's fine. I just don't think we needed 1,000-page book.
Yeah,
for that story to unfold.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Well,
anyway.
Okay.
No, we're moving on.
Damn, Scott. Damn you! You have to. I'm going to send you something. Okay. You got to respect the knot.
Go for it.
For some reason, all these stories are parallel to each other. Okay. Damn it.
All right. Send me the essay too.
Oh yeah, I will.
We'll throw it in the show notes so other people can read it and still probably agree with me. All right, so let's talk about Arya, because this is, again, I don't know what this story is going to. So is Arya back in Westeros by the end of the season?
Oof, that's a good question.
And again, I think I don't want to be having this conversation this time next year and have to divide it by regions, because I want all of our characters to be in generally the same place again. I want that the collection, things have to start moving together towards a central point. And she's one of those characters that, for her story to have any relevance, she has to start moving somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think she does. Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, they're going to give her some kind of a job, and my guess is it's going to be someone in King's Landing, or it's going to be Dany. And this is kind of like my book theory, I guess, but basically she's going to be sidetracked while she's doing it, and she's going to be caught. And so, in terms of this particular season,
so I think
I don't think
she's
so.
gonna finish her training.
Yeah, I don't think she's moving this season.
I
don't know if they have enough.
Maisie Williams
time.
did say that her character is barely in this season, so
yeah, okay.
Maybe it's literally just scenes of her finishing up her training, and then that's
right.
it.
And being given a target, I would guess.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Maybe it ends with her being given a target and sailing toward wherever that is.
Right. Which we could theorize for hours, I'm sure, as to who talked about faceless men and bravos and blah blah blah, and figure out who the target is.
Do you have any opinion on this at all?
On Arya?
Yeah.
No, not really, because like she seems to not actually be committed to becoming a faceless man. Like, she really wants to be. She wants to be able to commit to it, but she's too much of a Stark. She has too much of a, like, her identity is too strong. And so she's going to
defy them. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, she's gonna defy them. She's gonna get some of their like magical training, and then she's gonna come back into play as Arya Stark. And I mean, if that doesn't happen, it's gonna be really disappointing, because it's gonna be like she died.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know like where she's gonna be headed though. Like you said, hopefully Westeros, because I do feel like everything does have to come back to Westeros. Otherwise, I don't see how the ending can really be an ending.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she'll make it. Yeah, I agree. She'll make it back. I don't know. I guess maybe people would probably assume that she's automatically going to go somewhere north, but I keep picturing her with her training, and the fact that she started out in King's Landing and the Red Keep, learning from Syrio and learning kind of. Or just making her way around the Red Keep so much. I feel like that's going to come back into play later on. I guess I picture.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, I picture some very, I guess I'm trying to picture like the setting and stuff in King's Landing, and I'm thinking of like a lot of the events that happened in like the history of the series. A lot of the drama that went down, and I feel like that's coming again, and she's going to be part of it, and it's going to be one of those things where she's about to kill some target in the Red Keep, and she's going to be hiding in one of one of these tunnels, and then she's going to see something that's going to make her like stop and change her mind, and kind of and then drama's going to happen. So. My guess is that she does eventually go back, but she goes to King's Landing and not the North. So
okay, all right. So let's move on to the last thing I wanted to cover with you guys. In the trailer that we've seen, there is a very specific setup of people fighting some armed guards who look kind of like they're wearing the crest of the Targaryens, and
they totally are.
One of the people fighting them looks suspiciously like Eddard Stark. So the rumor here is that this is going to be a flashback to the Tower of Joy scene, which is, for those of you who don't know the theory, there is a very popular and like 99% correct, probably, theory that Jon's parents are Rhaegar Targaryen, the prince, and Lyanna Stark, Ned's sister. And this is where Ned found her and made the promise to her to keep her child safe, who is Jon, and which is why he. So this is something that's never been done in the book before, but like everything points to this, right? Like the only way this would not happen is if George R. R. Martin were mad that everyone figured it out, so he changed it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's even made comments that were to the effect of like, it's really surprising when you put like two offhand lines in a giant book, and then people come to you with this fully fleshed out theory that you were intending on saving for several more books.
Yeah.
Which maybe he's not talking about that, but I think he's talking about that.
I mean, when you give people 5 years between books, they're gonna dive into your books. So yeah, I mean, so this scene is going to be us finally seeing what happens there, which we already kind of know. But like you were saying earlier, Gentry, this is probably a Bran related flashback.
Sure.
Either him showing John what happened or him seeing it and then relaying the information, because we know he has the ability to look back through the history of Westeros. Like, that's have we seen that in movie or in TV show, or has that just been limited to book so far, that he has that ability? I think that's just in the book.
So far, just book from what I recall, because I think the only thing they really allow us to see in the show is when he basically sees the three-eyed crow in the north.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all they give.
So this is pretty exciting. I mean, this could finally confirm a theory that people have had for years.
Yeah, in fact, I think
decades.
this is actually the big announcement.
So when do you think this falls then in the season?
Ooh, good point. I guess my initial thought was that it'd be early, like in the first episode or maybe second. But thinking about it, and yeah, I do think it's going to be through one of Bran's, visions. Maybe the episode after Jon gets resurrected. So I would say maybe towards the end, like maybe 6 or 7, leading up to kind of the, kind of leading up to the big climax episode. But I'm just excited. I don't know. I mean, Sir Arthur Dayne, I guess, is super nerd, whatever. But he's like one of my favorite, non-character characters, and I'm thrilled, and I hope they show him. But at the same time, they show like this guy like holding 2 swords instead of like 1, and I'm like, motherfucker, if that's supposed to be Arthur Dayne, and they don't actually give him, the renowned sword, Dawn or whatever, the famous sword, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'm just gonna be furious.
Viewers at home, this is what book people sound like when they're complaining about things that don't matter at all.
Shut up. No, but I mean, this will be me, a personal thing. I'm not gonna go on a tirade, but it's a good question. I don't know. When do y'all think it comes into play?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be after John's back to life. So if I'm saying episode 3 or 4 for that, it'll probably be one or 2 episodes after that.
Right. Well, because the only other flashback in the series was Cersei, right? And she's thinking it's an actual flashback. So in this case, there's only one person that can actually have that flashback, and it doesn't sound like they're going to put him in the show.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to bring in Reed, so that's not going to happen.
So it's got to be Bran.
Yeah.
It's
exciting.
It's going to be the big reveal. I mean, it's happening. R+L equals J. Like, everyone's going to finally see it.
The big non-reveal, because everyone knows about it.
Right.
Yeah. I think so you think it's going to be a straight-up reveal? Because I can see this being like they open the episode with this flashback, and you're just sort of dropped in media res. You're not sure what's happening. And then it smash cut to Bran waking up from a dream. Thinking, what was that? And then later in that episode, Jon comes back to life, and that's like the connection there of like his birth is a metaphorical rebirth, and maybe they tease us for a little bit longer with the actual reveal of what the meaning of that vision was.
I could see it being a lot of weird jump cuts in the top of the tower where you see Lyanna dying.
Right.
Like it'll film the stuff that we've had Ned describe in his head in the books, where there's blood everywhere. She says, "Promise me," and it could be really ambiguous and not clear. So I could see that happening.
They may not show him, but I guess I feel like if they're committing to this scene, they're kind of showing it regardless. But I don't know.
I think for the people that know the theory, that is absolutely true. But for people that aren't crazy and do all the stuff we're doing.
No, you're right though. I guess I'm thinking about it like from a complete show watcher's perspective, someone that maybe just started it a couple years ago and maybe hasn't even heard of the theory. This can be this can be like one of those like, oh shit, like who's that being born? Have absolutely no idea. So I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a person I was talking to today, one of my friends, and she has read all the books and watched every episode and did not know the theory. So not everyone is crazy like us and goes out on the internet and researches all this stuff. So
that's very true.
It's always fun to tell people about this story. I've told several people this theory, like firsthand in person.
Oh God, yeah. It's great.
And they're always like, what?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, they start like,
exactly.
I don't believe you at all. And then when you lay it out for them, it just makes so much sense. Like, it's hard to argue against it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just nice seeing the reactions. Yeah.
cool. Well, guys, that's all I had to talk about on Game of Thrones. Did you have anything else, Gentry, you wanted to put in? We're running a little short on time, so
No,
make
man.
it
I
quick.
mean, I can't. I can't. I'll just keep going. I'll just go on a rant. I mean, I literally, like, people, when I start talking to them in person about it, like, I literally have to pause and tell myself to shut the F up because I start to realize that I'm, like, ranting and, like, they're just sitting there, like, listening intently. And I'm like, just stop me. So stop me right now. We're good. We're good.
Let's have you back next week to do a quick update, not the whole podcast, but
Sure.
just a quick update on the first episode and what we thought of it and all that. And we're probably going to write something too, which is something I guess we should say, that we're going to be covering the show throughout the entire season with a lot of stuff. We posted something today, that Matt wrote, that was pretty great on some of our predictions for the season, and we're going to do recap discussions, kind of similar to what we did at the end of last season. So yeah, we're going to be covering this show a lot because we all love it so much.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be fresh, new. No more spoilers, I guess. It's going to be, everybody's on the same level playing field, but at the same time, I'm a little nervous. I don't want, it's always sad to see your favorite characters get the sword or whatever, but ultimately it's got to move forward, and hopefully this will kind of motivate George to keep on writing. So
yeah. Winds of Winter coming out in 2020 probably.
2025. God, no, it'll come, but no, excited.
All right, so yeah, Sunday, can't wait. All right, so let's move on. Then let's finish the thing up with some talking real quick about some of the stuff we've been watching. Gentry, why don't you go first?
So I've been watching this latest season of Girls. It's, I think, one of the better shows around. I'm just a big fan of it. I guess I've been watching it pretty much since the beginning. It's always fun to talk to my colleagues about it. And this season, what was it, season 5, I think?
I think you're right,
yeah. This season was just wonderful. I mean, I think if anyone's kind of curious into, delving into the, well, whatever, this world of these young women as they kind of like mature and grow in a funny way, but also a serious way. Like, I think it's definitely one of those shows that really, I don't know, really kind of lends itself to what young people and not our range necessarily, but from our range to the last 15 years younger type of thing are growing up as adults and just I don't know. It's hard to know because I'm not. I've only been in New York once, so I can't really speak to the whole lifestyle. But the show itself is good. The writing is good. I think the actors are so comfortable now in their roles that they feel real. And this is probably like the most emotion I guess I've felt just watching. And it's each on an individual episode level. And it's still silly and funny, and it never seems. It always seems in terms of each separate plot for each episode, always seems like something new, and that they don't do just like a bunch of retreads, which is kind of cool. It's kind of all of our favorite types of storylines, but put into a pretty unique perspective. So between all these women who are best friends and stuff. So
I completely agree. I think the show had lost its way the last few seasons.
Yeah, like season 3-ish.
Yeah,
it was kind of like what?
And it came back with a vengeance this season. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I'm really excited that we're getting one more season next year. The Jessa Adam relationship was just amazing. And how cool is it that Adam Driver, one of the biggest movie stars on the planet,
my gosh,
is still
killing it.
Is still doing just amazing work on this little HBO show. Like, that's so awesome.
And like it's still, and like he's not even, it's not even like solely focused on him a lot like it was in the first season or second season, and he's still wonderful in these small moments, and they've all evolved in some way, and whether that's better or worse, but ultimately the end of this season, you almost see them as in their adult stage starting out, while they still have these issues, of course. But yeah,
absolutely, I
recommend it for anyone. So,
Matt, do you have anything this week?
Yeah, I watched Trumbo last night, which ironically I thought had a lot of script problems.
That's the movie about the screenwriter, for those that don't know.
Right.
Yes, that's the joke.
He was nominated, but that's about it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bryan Cranston. It was funny because Bryan Cranston and Louis C.K. are in this, and my wife exclaims that oh my God, it's both of your boyfriends. Um, so I liked a lot about it. It just wasn't incredible.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot to say about it, honestly.
I agree.
Didn't blow me away. Wasn't terrible.
I agree. All right. I have a couple things I'll go through real quickly here because I watched so much stuff that I want to talk about. I finished Daredevil season 2 just actually right before we started this. I finally finished it. It is way better than the first season. I really enjoyed the show. Like Jessica Jones, I talked about when that came out. I still like Jessica Jones more, but season 2 of Daredevil has fixed all the problems I had with it, with the exception of the terrible lighting. That it feels like it's a show about a blind guy, and I feel like I can't see anything, which is maybe intentional, but
yeah, that's funny.
But it really really engaging. I never liked the Elektra character, and I thought she was really good here. I never really got into the Punisher, but the Punisher they built for this show is really interesting and really enjoying to watch. It's a good show. I recommend it. If you have tried to watch season 1 and can't get through it, I think it's worth it now for this season. Really good, really good.
Yeah, I need to jump on that for sure.
The other thing I saw was The Jungle Book. I wrote a review about this. I think it's funny because I think my review came out more negative than I intended it to. I didn't like. I liked this movie a lot. There were some problems with it some tonal problems that it tried to be a little too dark for my tastes, but it was like Avatar we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast. It was beautiful to look at, like remarkable what they did. It's one of those movies I would definitely recommend seeing in the theater. Apparently you should see it in 3D. I didn't, but if you can get to the theater to see it, I would recommend it. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is a movie called Everybody Wants Some by Matt's favorite director, Richard Linklater. Matt, you probably won't like this movie, but I loved it. I thought about writing a review for it, but I don't know how, because it's not really a movie about anything. It's just this one college student who's on a baseball team and his first weekend in college before class starts, and it's just him hanging out with all his bro friends. Gentry, it really, honestly, there were parts that reminded me of us just living in the duplex, and
really?
It's just like some ridiculous guys like partying and like hyper competitive and just like having fun and enjoying everything. And it's just like, I know you don't like him, Matt, but Linklater has this ability to capture moments to me that just like perfectly mirror up to past experiences I've had. And
sure.
That was this movie to me, and
I wasn't sure about that when I watched the trailer. I was kind of
the trailer was really bad. I
couldn't decide. I was like, huh, and I was like, yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Sure.
Well, maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I'll watch it just so I can write a review about how it's actually soul-crushingly nihilistic and empty.
So there's a lot of backlash it's kind of gotten. There's only one female character in the movie. And she's not that important to it. It's kind of, it takes place in college in the 80s, so it's a bunch of 80s bro guys. And none of these guys hate women. They go out at night, and their goal is to score chicks. But I don't think that comes, it's kind of hyper masculine, but I don't think it comes from a place of, like, hatred or any of the negative aspects of masculinity. Like, I think it's all very, like, innocent kind of masculinity. Like they're not hurting any of these women. Most of the women, they actually make it clear that one of the girls that the main character hooks up with the next night, he sees her dancing on some other guy. So it's not like they're screwing with these girls and then tossing them to the curb. It's just like this everybody wants some. Everybody. No, it's Matt, I'm actually, if you get to see it, I'm interested to see what you think. It'll probably annoy you less than Boyhood, I'd say. But
okay, I mean, it's supposed to be funny, right?
Yeah, it's really funny.
All right, well, that's different from Boyhood, so.
Burn.
He's in.
All right. Okay, so that's all we have for this week. Gentry, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. Like I said, we'd like to have
Thanks
you
again, guys.
back to do a quick recording maybe
For
next
sure.
week. What else we have planned for next week, Matt? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know.
I don't know, but it's gonna be incredible.
It is. It is always incredible. All right, before
true.
we go, Gentry, where can you be found on the internet?
At Wench Tweet, and that's pretty much it.
Great.
Same old, same old. Yeah.
Matt?
I am on Twitter as provided in the text below.
There you go. I'm also on Twitter at ScottDaily85. Also at Daily Planet Films. And you can find all of our writing at www.dailyplanetfilms.com. We posted today our top 18 predictions for season 6 of Game of Thrones. It's not as serious as this discussion was, but I think it's a good read, so you should check that out. And we will have more Game of Thrones coverage and more other movie coverage and everything good almost every day. So check us out. And I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Podcast is over, it's done. We hope you all had some fun. Go back to your work or your school, maybe the gym. Hey, that's cool. Regardless, just go away. But please come back next Friday, there'll be